one of the things that is such an incredible practice that I'm just inviting you all to in a direct experience this week is that the experience of the sound and form as it moves through your unique pattern of consciousness and creativity and power and love and frequency. How does it start to take shape in this moment, in this moment, in this moment? That's what we could call beginner's mind in some way, but it's also a way that you can continue to uplink in every single kind of moment of practice and non-practice. You know, they say there's two states of experience. It's meditation and post-meditation. And you could start to look at your life that way. So you're either actively meditating or you're passively meditating, and that's your life. And that's sleep, that's eating, that's talking to, that's doing your business, that's parenting, that's doing everything that you're doing. You're either meditating or post-meditating. And so we want to create a fresh experience, a now experience, so that the ideas or the kind of, we'll call it abstractions, relative experience of what a mudra is or what a mantra is or what it does is not an informational exchange. Here at Rama Institute and eventually at Rama University, the whole kind of pedagogical foundation is about experience, because we now are in the age of experience. So I want you to kind of use your own spontaneous, creative, and channeled writing and art and whatever else kind of comes through you over this week, and it will be a very sacred text, and a terma, a wisdom teaching for yourself that you get to keep and refer back to and continue to develop. So you're starting right now your mantra and mudra notebook or journal. So I want to talk a little bit about how the mudra takes form and how we take form inside of it, and then we'll have an experience this morning. So we'll be going over all sorts of different kind of concepts and direct experiences of taking form in your mind, in your 10 bodies, in your 8 chakras, how form kind of shapes through the electromagnetic field, through these 72,000 kind of nerve channels called the nadis, how sound and form take shape through those, through the elementals, the tattvas, how sound and form take shape through those, and then how that then affects how the physical experience and the mental and emotional direct experience. And you can kind of have this little beautiful artistic journal channeled. It's really channeled text that will come through you over the week. That will, maybe you'll be surprised what actually is there at the end of the week. Okay, so you could look at mudra. Now, one of the ways in the age of Pisces that mudra was kind of related to is that it's a metaphor for something else, that the mudra is a metaphor. That has been one concept in the yogic science and in the kind of scriptures, that the mudra equals metaphor. And I'd like to kind of deconstruct that and elevate it into the age of Aquarius. In this age, the mudra or the form, and that's not just what you're doing with your hands, it's what you're doing with your ideas, it's what you're doing with your time. It's what you're doing with your time and what you're doing with timelessness. So both what you kind of direct your time to do, and then the timelessness, what you direct your meditative practice, meditation, post-meditation. So all of that is a form that you are taking in essence, to the movement of time and space, the movement of prosperity, the movement of love, the movement of creativity. All of that is form taking shape. And so ultimately, it's all a mudra. And so in this age of Aquarius, one way you can look at a mudra, and part of the reason why we can do this here is we spent our past week of Kundalini training, we went into the stages of the path, and we talked a lot about lineage. One of the reasons why you can and will have a direct experience of the shape and the form and how it relays and moves through your particular unique system is that you are held in this kind of space in Rama Institute by the lineage. And so the lineage basically creates a container that you can have these kind of self-revelations that are your direct experience to these technologies in a very quick and immediate way. So that's part of what's being held. So one way of looking at a mudra is that it's a self-secret. It's a self-secret. And your job is that as you take these mudric shapes, whether it's a shape of how you're kind of positioning yourself in a certain Instagram post, or whether it's a shape of how you're positioning yourself in your family, or whether it's a shape of how you're positioning yourself to the flow of energy, what you're doing throughout the day, time management, your position towards and with time. That's a huge position that we want to kind of create the most harmonious and the most creative and resourceful mudra to, because then we can use time and time isn't using us. It's a huge kind of mudra, and when you perfect that mudra, that position, that form, then all of a sudden you start to enjoy your life more. The way the time is moving, you're moving time through your form, your mudra to it, you start to enjoy your life more. So that's a major mudra we want to have a more elevated experience with time. A lot of people feel very kind of in this position with time that's very unelevated, not very empowered. So a mudra is a self-secret, which means that within the lineage, as you're being held by the lineage, you can start to find those secrets within yourself that are revelations, that are wisdom teachings, that are direct experiences to the way that form is moving you and how you're forming your life. And when we talk about this teaching, make a mold of your day and then put the time of the day, the 24 hours, through the mold that you've created. Now, that, sounds simple, doesn't it? But that's not the way we're taught to relate to time. That's not the way that we're both in the collective and usually in our familial patterns. No one told us that we could do that you could create a mold, a form, a mudra, and then you can push all of the substance or the frequency or even you could say time is sound, it's light, it's a frequency. So you're pushing that through the mold or the mudra that you yourself, if you're conscious, you're interested in starting to experiment with this, you have made, and you do that on the daily. And what is that ultimately? Well, that's doing something in the morning. You get up, you do something in the morning. We call that thing sadhana. You get up, you do something in the morning to create a mudra that then, or a mold or a shape that then your day can be pressed through. So all of your experiences and all of your time management and all the things that you have to do and all the places you have to show up to, and although, we don't go anywhere now, but all the Zooms you have to show up for, all the things that you have to do, that's being pressed through the form that you have consciously made. So I want to kind of think of this mudric experience as a self-secret that you're going to be telling yourself, that you're going to be exploring for yourself, that you're going to be awakening in yourself, that you're going to be initiating for yourself. This is the age of Aquarius. This is the kind of quantum leap where the mudra is no longer a metaphor, it's a direct experience. And so I want you to have a direct experience of these shapes, these forms, when we take them and then we press a certain frequency through that particular form, which could be called a shape, an asana, an asan, that shape that you're taking and those consequent shapes through the kriya, and then putting, if we put the sound of the breath, the pranic sound, that's a mantra. So the pranic sound is a mantra. So say we're just breathing in a posture, you're putting the pranic sound through the form. And then we go to another form. And you could say that the kriya it's an alphabet. Each asan, each posture, each mudra is spelling out something. And when you fully embody that and experience it, then at the end, you'll have not necessarily a cognitive understanding, but an experience, a direct experience of what that kind of word is, that complete spelling is in your experience, and then what you can do with it, because that's where we're householders. So we're interested in taking these forms and how they move together and how they create a harmonic symphony, or we could just even call it a sentence or a word. How we take that and then how we utilize it, how we then apply it. That's why it's called, this whole kind of institute is called Rama Institute for Applied Yogic Science and Technology. We're interested in how you first have the direct experience, then you apply it, and your direct experience, your immediate experience, your unique experience becomes something where when you apply it, it is a very different resonance than someone who's reading something in a book or who is relating to something, even in the kind of most base form of what these mudras are. Now, of course, then we also have, just the fundamentals of the mudras. We have certain names and certain positions of the fingers and all that kind of stuff. But I want you to take this into a much bigger space, because then you yourself become a mudra. And your consciousness can be formed into these sophisticated kind of mudric shapes, which then allows you to handle different situations in a very resonant, harmonic, and enjoyable way. I think one of the ways that you know that things are working out and you're doing a good job with your life and with your, whatever you're here to do, your mission, your destiny, is that whoever comes around, and hopefully it's a lot of different types of people, because I think that also is indicative that you're not just kind of only relaying with people who think the same way as you and do the same things as you and, all this kind of stuff. We've gotten very narrow-minded in an odd way. It's like a little bit of a reaction to the openness that's happening, is this kind of narrow-minded. We can't even have a conversation. I was having this thing yesterday where, God forbid something is said on Rama TV that is just a different way of thinking about things. I mean, we're in a very odd time. And that narrow-mindedness is an inability basically to express the full form of consciousness. And so your job, it's a polarity planet, so we're going to always deal with both of these things. But when you're doing a good job, when you're in full expression and all sorts of different people are coming your way, and you're having to deal with the in-laws, and you're having to deal with the PTA moms, and you're having to deal with the whatever. The PTA moms tend to be, that's a rough crowd. It's like a mafia situation. Some lady was telling me this Waldorf school, when you're dropping your kid off at the Palisades Waldorf school, it's like, you're dealing with like a mom mafia to everyone. There's just like so many levels of the like judgment of oh, you let your kid touch phones? Oh, It's like, you're not vegan? Oh. It's a real intense crowd, that PTA crowd. But whoever you're dealing with, your neighbors, everybody's home more, so I've noticed the neighbors are much more interested in, suburban drama, because they're just sitting at home trying to get through the day. And so you're dealing with all these different types of people, and hopefully you're doing well when lots of different types of people are coming into your sphere, and your ability to create a mudric language in your mind and body, in your mental, emotional, physical, energetic bodies, is very, very harmonic and very enjoyable, very pleasurable, and you're able to deal with people, and not only deal with people, but actually enjoy different types of people with different types of opinions, who do different things. This is then you know your mantra and your mudra is working, and this could be related to all sorts of different aspects of your pragmatic, just your householder life. So this is your client, the clients that are coming to you. These are the people who are showing up for your classes, for your Zoom classes, whatever you're, if you're teaching that way, or the like, just the expansion of your consciousness and form through the frequency, through form, through you, becomes something where you're able to very easily handle all sorts of different situations, all sorts of different people. That means that the mudra is expressing itself in the kind of, we'll call it, I'll use the term, the rainbow body. There's a big kind of exploration of expression that is not, both you are able to experience in yourself, and then others are able to experience with you. And ultimately, that's all, so much of what's happening on this planet is that people want to feel like they can do that, and that they're going to be okay and they're going to be safe, because this is part of the age of Aquarius. It's very much a Star Wars bar, and all sorts of different things are kind of happening simultaneously, and people, their consciousness is opening up, their lives are opening up in different ways, they're exploring different ways of living. This is part of what's happening, and definitely what's happened in 2020 is an expression of so many people who may have never been contemplative or even spiritual has sat at home in one way or another and started to look at how are they living their lives, and what do they want to be spending their time doing, and why, and what is actually valuable to them. So it's a very, very powerful moment in human history and in the Earth's history. So we're going to have this little journal. We'll be introducing, and you can use this in all sorts of different ways, but in my sessions, I'll be introducing different mudras and frequencies through the mudras, and different ideas of your immediate experience of the mudra and the form and how that expresses through you. And then you can use this to kind of start to discover those self-secrets, because this is a path of self-initiation. This is a path of self-mastery. And so your job, if you choose to accept it, is to discover these secrets that you have even hidden from yourself. And so these are wisdom discoveries, and the whole kind of Gyan mudra is a discovery of wisdom in yourself, and we do it all the time. This is probably the most kind of used mudra in Kundalini yoga for sure, but I think in general this is the most known about and used mudra, the Gyan mudra. And ultimately it's a lock, it's a vow, it's a connectivity to the secret of the depth of your own wisdom, which when you find it, when you go to it, when you return to it day by day, it becomes something that gives you fulfillment beyond anything that you ever thought that you wanted or have or don't have or wish you could have. This deep well of wisdom is what in many ways you've been seeking. So that's the Gyan mudra. All right, so we're going to have a little experience this morning, and then you'll have I want you to do. I'm going to introduce a couple mudras, and I want you to do some kind of self-secret finding. on the break, and then you can use this in the other sessions for things that you're discovering. Many of you take lots of notes, but I want this to be a space where you actually are kind of using, we'll call it spontaneous wisdom to find parts of yourselves that you have been longing to meet. Gyan Mudra.